spirit. Came a car went up, although they stumbled and fell. But not when they say Adar, and we stood up, and we're still standing up, going on 4,000 years. We're still holding, there's no country in the world that ever went through the persecutions that we have gone through, and we still hold on to our belief. Hashem should deliver us, may the King answer us on the day we call. I want to share with you something very moving. I think I told you, some of you may know, a story that I saw, a video. Rabbi Castell brought person to the Rebbe on Sunday dollars. And he told the Rebbe that this person is Jewish. His parents, his mother and father are both Jewish. But he became a Christian priest. And he wants to return to the Jewish roots. The Rebbe gave him $1. The charity to return to the Jewish roots. And then when the line moved, tried to move them on, Rabbi Castell jumped back in front of the Rebbe and said, Rebbe, he's asking for a tikkun, something to rectify his past. And the Rebbe went like this. Like this, like he's throwing something over his shoulder, and he said, he has no past. Just wipe the slate clean. And this is a very profound thing. Because people say, Rebbe, after everything that I've done, how can I ever be tshuva? How can I ever enter into the presence of God? And so on. How do we say to this person? The past that you're concerned about does not exist. Hashem is creating a new world every single second. And the letters that you forwarded here the last few weeks were sent amongst other places to people who are sitting in prison. In this one letter, it talks about, from the Song of Songs, redemption of the Jewish people. That when it says in the Song of Songs, we say this in our davening when we bless the new moon, which should be in a few days, the second week of the month. We say, behold, my beloved is coming, he's leaping over the hills. King Solomon wrote those words. And the Talmud, the sages of the Talmud explained them in a series of different sages. And one said, Rabbi Yudam said, that when Moshe Rabbeinu came to tell the Jewish people in the name of Hashem that the time for the redemption had arrived, they said, Rabbeinu Moshe, our father, our teacher Moshe, how can you come and say that we're being redeemed? Hashem told our father Abraham, we have to be in bondage for 400 years. We've only been in bondage with our parents and grandparents for 210 years. It's too soon. And Moshe Rabbeinu answered them and said, Hashem doesn't care about your calculations. He has his own calculations. And this is what the pasuk means. Behold, my beloved is coming. He is leaping over the hills to redeem you. And then another sage said, but there are sparks of holiness in every country. Maybe there are other countries that we haven't visited, And when the Jewish people go to a certain country and they do mitzvahs there and they learn Torah there, they redeem the sparks that are in that country. Maybe there are other countries where we have to be. And we can't go out of Golus until we've redeemed the sparks from all these other countries. And Moshe Rabbeinu answers them. So it says in the Talmud, Moshe Rabbeinu answers them, even if one Jew was the only Jewish person ever living in this country, and there's a story like that about the son of the son-in-law of the Baal Shem Tov who was stranded on Rosh Hashanah in a certain country where there were no Jews. And the king of the country found out about him and was intrigued by his unusual behavior and the blowing of the shofar, and he was going down to the ocean to immerse himself. And they had long discussions, and he said, I would like you to bring 300 of your people to live in my country. You're wonderful. And he says, no way I could do such a thing. The king said, why not? He says, because I don't have 300 people who would listen to me. And I just don't know if I have the power to do this. I don't know if Hashem wants me to do this. I can't just go and do a thing like that. I can't tell 300 people to leave where they are and go into exile just because you said. That's what happened in Egypt. And he returned home. And he told his father-in-law, the Baal Shem Tov, what had happened. And he said, you should know that the fact that you were shipwrecked on that island and you had to wait for, or the boat needed repairs, you had to wait a week for it to come back, for another boat to come and bring you here. You should know that even if a whole community of 300 Jews or 3,000 Jews have been exiled to this country, it wouldn't be necessary because of what you did when you were there, you redeemed all the sparks of holiness that were in that country. And that's a commentary on what it says here from the Talmud, that they said maybe there are other countries we have to be in, and we can't go out of Golus until we finished our mission to redeem all the sparks in the world, so then Moshiach could be here. So this went out in a letter, and it was sent by a friend of mine. He sends a copy of this letter to people who are in prison. And I get this letter. One of the people took one of the pages. Let us see, this is your page. It's only on one side, not on both sides. And he underlined and read that the people said we can't go out of Golus if our job of elevating the holy sparks is not finished. And Moshiach, Rabbi Yudan says that when Moshiach comes, it will be the same thing. The same thing will happen. That the Moshiach will say the time for your redemption has arrived. That's sound familiar. And people will object and say, it can't be. It's too soon. We haven't done what we have to do. And Rabbi Yudan, who said this maybe 1,800 years ago, even if only one Jew was once in a certain country or in a certain place, it is as if the whole Jewish people had been there and they elevated all the holy sparks. So stop worrying. We don't have to be in exile in any more countries. The voice of Hashem is leaping over the mountains and skipping over the hills. Hashem is leaping over all your calculations and all your ideas about when the redemption will take place, or when it should take place, or if it could take place. Moshiach is coming now, and he's going to redeem you now. So that's the letter that went out. And this person sitting in jail sent back this letter and wrote, how can I go out of Golus if I have not yet finished my job of self-refinement? Right? And then he writes an answer in a different color ink. Perhaps if I have once overcome a selfish impulse, it is as if all those impulses were rectified and elevated. Happy Purim. See you. You have no past. The Rebbe said it. And he says it many times in letters when people write these kinds of sentiments, where they feel guilty and they feel remorse. And he says, don't trouble yourself. Hashem is creating a new world every second. Now go forward. Proceed. Okay. I said a bracha downstairs. Chapter 10. We began chapter 10. And we have 10 minutes left. Look at that. Stretch it to 15. When a person is working very hard along these lines, it's amazing if the author ever writes about these things that we all feel. When a person sets himself or herself to wage war against the animal soul, which is what he's saying here, if I rectify one selfish impulse, I resist, I don't give in to it. And a person goes on further and further and further to the extent, on page 151 at the top, that he banishes the evil from its abode in the left side of the heart. So that you no longer have any selfish impulses. He did away with them. Now, how can you ever accomplish that? Well, you just have to start with one. And the Alter Rebbe is going to write in chapter 12, when you feel an impulse to do something and your mind tells you this is not acceptable, you have to push that impulse out of your head and out of your heart with two hands, like that. Push it out. A story to illustrate this. There was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe who came and complained about strange thoughts. When he tried to daven, he would think about everything under the sun except Hashem. Those are called strange thoughts. He didn't plan out a bank robbery or take revenge. He's going to beat up some enemy. He would just have strange thoughts, but he would not do he would never do anything that he might have thought of, because he's a Beinoni. The difference between the Beinoni and the Tzaddik is that the Tzaddik has no strange thoughts whatsoever. None. But the Beinoni does have strange thoughts and powerful desires to do wrong, to do things against Hashem and against Torah and against other people, but he never does them. He struggles every day, every hour, every minute. He's always struggling. The life of the Beinoni is a life of struggle. You hear Shama? I don't know if you learned this before. The life of the Beinoni is a life of struggle. And it could be he never wins. Alter Rebbe says at one point, well, maybe, perhaps, someday he might. But he's not allowed to give up. It's very existentialist. So the Beinoni is always struggling. And the difference between the Beinoni and the Tzaddik is the Tzaddik never has a strange thought and never does a bad thing. The Beinoni has a lot of strange thoughts. And he doesn't know how, he can't stop, he can't control it. He can only fight against it. So this person came to the Alter Rebbe and complained about his strange thoughts. When everyone wants to daven, that's when they would all of a sudden, all the pigeons would come to roost. You can imagine that. Pigeons. See them fly around and come to roost on the bank around 770. So the Alter said, go to this person here, and he will teach you. Go to this chassid. So he went to that chassid, and I'm sure it was more difficult for him to get there than it was for us to get to the yeshiva this morning with the snow. And he got there, and it was a cold, rainy winter night. He knocks on the door. Someone opens the window on the second floor and says, who's there? And he says, it's me. Or maybe he said his name. He never learned English grammar. You have to say, it is I. I'm here, not me is here. It's me. Okay. Slams the window shut. And leaves him standing in the rain. He's standing in the rain, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He knocks again. Window opens. Who's there? I told you I'm still here. Okay. Close the window. It's very unusual behavior. Knocks a third time, says, yeah, it's you. Okay, I'm coming right down. Guess he was busy. Comes down, gives him a towel, makes him a cup of tea, gives him some cookies, and gives him a place where he can lie down, have a sleep. And he's very happy because now he can learn how to deal with his strange thoughts. And nothing happens. The chassid doesn't teach him anything, doesn't learn. A nice person, he goes through his daily routines. He seems a very, very righteous person. After a week or two, the Balabah says to him, what's with you? You look very upset. You're unhappy about something? He says, yes, I'm unhappy. He said, why? He says, because I came here, the Alter Rebbe sent me to learn something from you, and I'm not learning anything. He says, why not? He says, well, he sent me here to learn how to deal with my strange thoughts. He said, well, I taught you that the moment you arrived. Didn't get it? He said, no, what did you teach me? He said, don't you remember what happened? He said, sure, I knocked on the door, you opened the window, you never opened the door. He said, that's the lesson. When a strange thought comes into your head, you don't open the door. And you don't try and let him in. Oh, that's an interesting strange thought, but I'll deal with it. No, you're not going to be able to deal with it. That's why it's a strange thought. Don't let it in. In the first place, you have to push it away with two hands. Okay? So that's a gloss on what it says here. When page 151, when a person wages war against the animal soul to the extent that he's banished it, he eradicates it from its place on the left side of his heart. You see how just a line or two in the Tanya there's so much in it. And it's so relevant to every one of us. And this is based on a pasuk. What's the pasuk? Pasuk is a verse in the Torah. What does it say in the Torah? It says the words are, page 151, paragraph 2. You shall eradicate the evil from your midst. What's it talking about? I didn't think it was talking, you wouldn't think that was talking about your strange thoughts. It isn't. Outwardly it's talking about if a person starts to do idol worship in one of your cities, well, you have to deal with him, and either he has to stop worshiping idols or you have to eliminate him. And that's the pasuk. You're not allowed to have people doing idol worship in your cities. And you shall eradicate the evil from your midst. That makes a lot of sense, right? Chassidus applies it to your heart. We're not allowed to entertain strange thoughts in our heart. And now, what if a person achieves this, but so he deals with the evil. He doesn't allow the evil to be in his heart, but he hasn't taken it to the next level. What's the next level? that the evil that was in your heart becomes a positive factor in your psyche and a motivation for you to do good. Like, for instance, if a person was a chain smoker and gives up smoking and comes into a room where people are smoking, he can't remain there. It just bothers him so much. He can't stand the smell of smoke. And similarly, if a person has a certain problem, a moral problem that bothers him, and he overcomes it, and he doesn't want to even see, he can't bear to see that problem in someone else, and he doesn't want to even remember that he had this problem, and the problem becomes a tremendous motivation for him to be the opposite. Like, for instance, a person who was brought up in a kosher home may wonder what non-kosher food tastes like. A person who never knew about it and ate non-kosher food and realizes that, like the story you told of the Maharash with the young wealthy young man, remember, in Paris, young man, non-kosher wine will clog up the sentiments in your heart and confuse your mind. And he realized, yes, that's my problem. So I offered him some non-kosher wine. No, thank you very much. I don't want non-kosher wine. I don't want a cheeseburger, and I don't want to go see the movies on Shabbos. So the evil became good. It became a positive influence. He is much stronger, this person who leaves behind the waywardness, whether it was deliberate or whether it was accidental, just never knew better, never had an education, or maybe whatever, however you want to write the scenario. I'm not going to go into that. He'll be much stronger in keeping Torah and mitzvahs than the person who never had a problem. The person never had a problem, they take it for granted. This person doesn't take anything for granted. You follow me? That's called hishapcha, which Purim is all about. Changing your ways from one extreme to the other. Because in Purim, the greatness of Purim, why Purim will be a great, big festival even after Moshiach comes, and the holidays of Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot will not be great festivals after Moshiach comes. They'll be festivals. But the great festivals will be Hanukkah and Purim, because then they were festivals when the Jewish people were in a mess of a state, and they did big time tshuva. They did. It says on Purim, the Jewish people completed the acceptance of the Torah that began at Mount Sinai. Because at Mount Sinai they were sort of forced. I mean, it's like Hashem revealed himself to them and said, "Are you interested in Torah?" He said, "Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't be?" So in Purim, there were no miracles, there was no thunder, there was no lightning, there was no revelation. There was just Mordechai leading the Jews to do tshuva on the biggest level, and they did a tremendous tshuva, and that's when we as a nation really accepted the Torah and committed ourselves to the covenant that we have with God. And this person here that the Alter Rebbe is writing about, he controls his impulses, but they don't motivate him to do good. They didn't become a driving force in his service of God, like I described. Like a person does tshuva, his or her sincerity is so strong that it overcomes everything else. That's why it says that where Baal Tshuva stands, even the biggest tzaddikim cannot stand. And one of the great accomplishments of Moshiach is that he will enable even tzaddikim to do tshuva. Because tshuva is much more powerful than Torah and mitzvahs. And now just one more paragraph, and we're going to say that's it for today. Since his evil has not yet been converted to good, okay, can you imagine this? A person does Torah and mitzvahs completely. He does not entertain negative thoughts, but he has them. Okay? He didn't convert them to good yet. He is called, in the fourth paragraph down, it's just one line. He is called Tzaddik V'Ra'aloi. Tzaddik Shein Gamar. Tzaddik, he's a tzaddik. Keeps Torah and mitzvahs. It's tzaddik. But he still has some vestige of evil left in him because it didn't become good. It's still there as bad. But it's not effective. It doesn't lead him to do anything bad. He's in control. He doesn't think anything bad. He doesn't say anything bad. Doesn't do anything bad. But he still has this badness that's in him. That's a tzaddik. So he's a tzaddik. He's a righteous person. V'ra'aloi, but he has ra. Ra is evil. Or another way of putting it is, he's a tzaddik, but he's an incomplete tzaddik. He's a 99, 44, 100% tzaddik, but it's that extra 56.56 of 1% of big evil that's still left. So you can't say he's a complete tzaddik. That's what the Alter Rebbe is writing for. And if that sounds daunting, and it's such a lofty goal, don't despair. Don't despair. Ulai b'kol you never know. You might get there. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. We might get there. But at least we know what we're aiming for. Winter Olympics. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back with you. I started to have withdrawal symptoms. Boring, partial trouble for frustrating and all kind of Baruch, say to it, enjoy the sunny weather. After those thoughts. Is this it? We're finished with winter? What do you think? I'm so worried. Oh, wait, like, I was here. Oh, guys, I think we're sure people don't remember it. Yeah, yeah, for that. Hey, do you guys get like, I'm going out for you guys in your value.
I think it looks really like I didn't want that here, that's like seated, and I'm like, that's all still, I just use. Full beard, dark hair. Thank you. Right, for like for being there. I know what I mean, right? Like I just like go back later. That's not how they. Yeah. I want someone who cares. And there's a word for that I'm blanking on. Yeah. Okay. Downstairs, I don't have enough dusty. We're okay. I lost it. Oh no, yeah, he's the chocolate on. Or leave. Ah, what's the direction of the leaf? It's what was the whole bunch of them. It's not there. You're not big.